Hello, CaliPers, and welcome back. I was waiting for the US to have a clearer picture of the outcome and to see the reaction of each side. Now it looks like Joe Biden will become the president-elect, and Donald Trump campaign is digging its heels in and flailing about with court challenges with what seem challenges that lack substance. So now seems like a good opportunity to bring you up to speed and clarify some current issues. This video will be on the presidential election. I'm working on a video that addresses why California votes go against rent control pretty consistently. So if you want to see that, let me know in the comment section below, and make sure to subscribe and enable notifications by hitting the bell icon so you don't miss the video. A couple of things to note before we dive in. States make the rules for their elections, and the rules for each election vary by state. Also, for someone who claims that the longer the process takes, the more questionable it looks, it's interesting that Trump was crying to stop the vote count. But again, not his choice. The first question I've been getting is, why did Trump have the lead and suddenly votes appeared for Joe Biden out of nowhere? Well, the very simple answers are mail-in/absentee ballots, provisional ballots, and city and county size. A more in-depth answer addresses the issue of why. So here it is. These in-depth answers are what you get with the California perspective. The process varies by state, but frequently there are three batches of votes. In-person votes, which are what you get when people go into the polls, either on election day or during early voting. These are typically counted first and tend to be the most integrated part of the system. The second group are mail-in ballots and absentee ballots. This was a point of contention from the Trump campaign early on, with claims that mail-in voting is rife with fraud. The reason these are counted second, and frequently take much longer, they will be done only after the in-person vote counting is complete. This way, they're able to compare votes cast by mail to the original votes to make sure no persons have voted twice. The physical action of counting mail-in ballots is typically not as streamlined as the in-person counting, simply because it usually does not make up such a large percentage of the votes cast, and it requires the extra steps of opening the ballot envelopes, sorting, etc. Provisional ballots are counted last, as they have to be compared to both the in-person and mail-in votes that have already been cast to prevent double voting. A question I've responded to is, why were some of the mail-in tallies entirely for Joe Biden and none for Donald Trump? On that one, my guess is that the ballots are sorted before they are counted. The Georgia Secretary of State also made mention that it has happened that the exhausted counters have forgotten to hit upload. The mistake was caught as a redundancy within the normal quality control process to prevent mistakes from being overlooked. Larger jurisdictions, whether cities or counties, tend to take longer to count votes. And this goes for all types of votes, whether it's in-person, mail-in, or provisional. Combined with the fact that the larger cities tend to vote Democratic, the end result is more Democratic votes counted later in the process. The rest of this video will focus on the claims that are being levied against the democratic process and whether or not there is sufficient evidence to back up such claims. For some reason, Trump has claimed that votes are counted the same day.
It's a terrible thing when people or states are allowed to tabulate ballots for a long period of time after the election is over.
He waffles on this, but let's be clear. While states have been called in previous elections based on the expected winners, states do not have all their votes counted in the same day. So it's a very odd claim from Trump, because no state is ever verified the same day as the election. The claims below come from Donald Trump, and the fact checks have come from multiple sources, including the Associated Press. A special shout out to Mary Claire Dale and Calvin Woodward from the Associated Press, from their article published November 5th. So Trump claimed, "We're hearing stories that are horror stories. We think there is going to be a lot of litigation because we have so much evidence and so much proof." Well, if the evidence or proof exist, Trump and his team have not shared it with the public. Courts are loath to disenfranchise voters and overturn votes. Courts would require so much evidence and so much proof. As we have said in previous video, Trump likes to claim that someone said something as a means of conveying his own message. It will take more than individuals claiming they saw impropriety to overturn votes. Based on claimed crimes in the past and broken promises from Trump of prosecutions that never came, it is not likely that his case has merit. But the courts will have the opportunity to make the determination if and when evidence is presented. In the meantime, it's just bluster.
They knew they couldn't win, so they said, let's go to court.
As we go through each Trump challenge, as Joe Biden has not filed any legal challenges, we must remember that, by and large, it is the states that make the rules regarding elections and their delegates. Many states have adopted rules to accommodate the throng of mail-in ballots, and surprise, surprise, there are no legal challenges in states that Trump is winning. Go figure. Pennsylvania. Trump said, in Pennsylvania, partisan Democrats have allowed ballots in the state to be received 3 days after the election, and we think much more than that, and they are counting those without any postmarks or any identification whatsoever. The facts? The Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled that the ballots mailed before Election Day could be received up to 3 days after the election and still count towards the overall vote. This was not a one-sided decision by the Democrats. The United States Supreme Court declined to intervene with the 3-day window, but did reserve the right to review the matter again later. Still in Pennsylvania. Trump claimed Pennsylvania Democrats have gone to the state Supreme Court to try and ban our election observers. They don't want anybody in there. They don't want anybody watching them while they're counting ballots. That is wrong on multiple levels. Republicans wanted their observers to be closer to the election workers than guidelines allowed, and sued to be able to be closer. Democrats and Republicans were able to observe from the same distance before the suit, and nobody tried to eliminate party observers at all. Trump did win that, and the observers are now closer. In Michigan, Trump claimed, our campaign has been denied access to observe any counting in Detroit. That's just false. Absentee ballots were counted at a downtown convention center where some 134 boards were set up. Each party was allowed one poll watcher per board, according to City Clerk Janice Winfrey. She said she was not aware of any Republican poll watchers being removed, but they did make note that some of the Republican poll watchers had been very aggressive, trying to intimidate the poll workers and processors. Mark Brewer, former chairman of Michigan Democratic Party, said he was inside the convention center and access was cut off to some people from both sides at one point because the capacity restrictions related to the pandemic. In Georgia, Trump claimed the election apparatus in Georgia is run by Democrats. That is just not true. It is a Republican Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, who oversees the election in Georgia. The 11th Circuit ruled that in Georgia, the votes have to be in by Election Day, that they should be in by Election Day, and they weren't. Votes are coming in after Election Day. That's not an accurate description of the ruling in question or what happened in the election in Georgia. Although the court ruled that votes must be in by 7 p.m. Election Day for them to count, an exception was made for ballots from the members of the U.S. military serving overseas. Those can be received until 5 p.m. Friday and still count. The election officials in Georgia are still counting votes, but they are votes that have been lawfully received. Illegal votes. Illegal votes. If you count the legal votes, I easily win, said Trump. If you count the illegal votes, they can try and steal the election from us. The fact? This is just a general claim with no evidential substantiation. Trump will have the opportunity to provide his evidence in court, but some legal challenges have already been thrown out. States make the rules for elections, and the Trump campaign has not been able to demonstrate any illegally counted votes, and the numbers would need to be large enough to remove Biden's lead over Trump in any of the states. Just because Trump does not like the decisions that states have made as to what constitutes a legal vote does not make them illegal. It just makes Trump a sore loser. Trump, complaining that underhanded activity sapped his leads in important races. We were winning all the key locations, by a lot actually. The change in fortunes he speaks about is explained by the nature of vote counting in the states, not by any sudden surge of malfeasance that others have not seen. So, that was our deep dive. If you like that video, hit the like button, go ahead and subscribe, check out our other videos on the channel. We have a variety of things for you to check out. Catch you next time.